I'm here in Arlington looking out at the District of Columbia. Look at how cool this is. We're watching plain land right over. Wow. How neat is that? Anyway, this city was literally founded on a struggle for identity. We all know it. Taxation without representation. And if you are trying, Birdie, up to build a short-term rental business here, you're going to feel the same exact struggle. It's a city of power. We all know that, but it's also a city of very transient living. Take the White House, for instance. Even the president of the United States is basically a tenant on a 4-year lease. The White House is just, the way I see it, the world's most famous Airbnb or short-term rental. So what actually drives this market? It's not just politics. Government is still, yes, the number one employer, with roughly a third of local jobs tied to the public sector. But the real growth is actually in professional services and tech, with big players like Amazon, HQ2 right there, and a huge booming startup ecosystem right across the river. You got students coming in from Georgetown, GW, and Howard, and lots of young professionals rotating through think tanks and consultancies every single year. I mean, you got business, all the conventions at the convention center, federal agencies, trade associations. I mean, the list goes on, and this is every single week, all year round. The peak season absolutely, undoubtedly is the spring when everybody knows the cherry blossoms pop. DC pulls in well over 27 million visitors a year with hundreds of millions in festival-driven spending. Come here, bird. International travelers who spend almost twice what domestic tourists do have been surging back post-pandemic. Now let's talk money. DC is a very expensive city, top tier, like across the nation. And some of those most expensive neighborhoods are Georgetown, Kalorama, where you have people like Barack Obama and Jeff Bezos living. Then, of course, you have the West End, where the average rent sometimes can be over $5K a month. And because it's so pricey, a lot of the short-term rental inventory ends up clustered in small places like Capitol Hill, where you got most of your guests are going to be staffers, interns. And then there's other areas like Noma and Union Market that attract a much younger, experience-driven traveler base. But here's the catch that nobody's talking about. If you want to host here successfully, you need to listen to this. DC is strict. One host, one home. That's their slogan. You can't just buy an investment condo or a second home and throw it on Airbnb and have it be a success. It has to be your primary residence. And any unhosted rentals are capped 90 nights a year. So kind of shitty. Here in Arlington, it's similar. You need an accessory homestay style permit. And it generally has to be your primary home, which is super restrictive to people wanting to build a portfolio. So you can't just scoop up a nice one bed in Roslyn and run it like a full-time hotel. That's just not permitted here. And all this regulation, this doesn't happen by accident. Platforms know that this is one of the most valuable travel markets on the planet. And so Airbnb has been spending close to $1 million a year on federal lobbying in the last few years. And it's still willing to put millions more into key cities like DC to try and influence how short-term rental rules get written. So you've got this paradox. DC is built on temporary people, temporary power, and temporary stays. But the rules are designed to keep the housing stock feeling permanent and to protect traditional hospitality. So how do I grade the DC region? Well, I'm going to say for arbitrage or a pure investment play, it's absolutely an F. Don't try to game this market from the outside. You'll never win. The regulations are just tight. The moat is way too deep. But for house hackers and people who want to live in and rent an extra room, I would say it's a B, maybe an A. And if you live here, just follow the rules, operate legally, and you'll have insane demand all year round, high nightly rates, and far less competition because the barrier to entry is just so high. And if you're already hosting in DC or Arlington, this part's for you. I am building Marble. Think of it as the operating system a search giant like Google tried to build for travel but never could. Marble is completely different. It is agentic. We've injected AI to learn the DNA of you and your property, your market, and your entire operation to handle all the back office annoying tasks. We're using AI and machine learning, which will rip all the back office pain off your plate. Scheduling, operations, inventory, coordination, messaging, all the compliance and the documentation, all of that. We will handle all of this. All the repeatable tasks that quietly burn you out, those are on our roadmap. But here's our line in the sand: we will not automate your guest messaging. To me, that is the final component that allows you to provide a human to human touch point and really connect in the spirit of hospitality. Nobody wants to show up exhausted from a flight and then be greeted by an AI chatbot. And nowadays, everybody's asking, was that AI? So Marble will automate every other pain in the ass, starting with pricing. If you use Price Labs, we will give you the edge. Oh, look at this really cool plane coming in again. Really neat. So come along, join Marble. This is one of the hardest markets in the country, and that's exactly why it's worth winning with Marble. We'll handle everything. Join Marble, join the waitlist. Cheers.